Welcome everybody to the fourth story. Move my dog's leg. The hound organised. How are you all? Thank you for coming and listening to the story. I own the language I speak. Are we only farming the surface? Really? Okay. I'll start again. I own the language I speak. Stop. Yeah, but it's my seat. You getting up? You going? No barking. I wonder if I can do this. I'll do this just to practice. And then if it's okay, I'll send it out there. Oh, I've never worked with children or animals. Okay, I'm going to start again. I own the language I speak. Are we only farming the surface? It only takes one photo, doesn't it? Where perception shifts uncomfortably into perspective. Reality kicks in with a generous slap in the face and keeps the big picture at the forefront of being. I spent all of 2025 talking about language with Kevin Elmy and our guests we invited onto the Farming Revolution Sunday sessions. I've spent 9 years figuring out how to convey a message that most people understand but don't want to accept. And when they do accept it, many struggle with the metamorphosis. Not because they don't understand, but because becoming someone new is confronting. I still hear where educators are going wrong. Using the old language in a new system doesn't work. Using the term consumer instead of customer, for example. Changing a language to bridge the gap is easy. Giving people time to process this new language is the tricky bit. Repetition is the answer. The old saying, old habits die hard, is very true when a new language is being implemented. Listen to the way people are speaking. Do they speak their own language, or are they simply repeating what they are being fed just to fit in? Are you a number, or do you stand out? Come here! No. No. Here. Good girl. Good girl, that's it. You stay there. Good girl. Are you a number or do you stand out? Are you willing to put your hand up and call someone out no matter what the consequences are, just because you believe in the truth? What does it take to be genuine to yourself? My entire life I have owned the ground I walk on, but listening to people lately I've become acutely aware of insecurities, misunderstandings and falling out of uniqueness and into the pit of commodity. What it takes is guts and determination to stand your ground. This is not being alone or the misperception of feeling lonely. This is about a resolute form, a beacon of light that stands in a sea of confusion. Knowing what you are doing is the only way forward, having to hold space long enough for people to catch up using language that people misinterpret or create wrong perceptions about what it is you're actually saying. The incessant need to keep posting different forms of the same thing, testing what works and what doesn't. The patience and the time needed is a burden. What I really want to say is, what don't you understand? Our sun creates a wealth of energy. A diverse range of plants converts that energy. That conversion creates food of some description, whether it's for us or for insects, birds, animals or microbes. Either which way, that energy converts to food. The diverse range of roots that all differ in length and form have a purpose too. These roots open up the soil to allow rain to infiltrate. These roots also allow the flow of carbon that helps to store the water as deep down as the tip of the longest root. It's that simple. But wait, there is more, and this is the concerning part very few people talk about. Professor John Cherry is one of those unique people who has spent his life dedicated to groundwater, also known as the water table level. Listen carefully to this part. Without groundwater, every single farm has no functional legacy. This means that without water, your farm is null and void. A person's legacy is the lasting impact, memory, or contribution they leave behind after they are gone. Once farmers and graziers tap into their groundwater legacy and do not replace it, their farm is a ticking time bomb of desert in the making. Never judge a book by its cover. Never look at a bright green monoculture and think that's a healthy crop. It's not what is on the surface that counts. That's the old language, yield and money. I'm specifically talking about what you can't see, and as a general rule, what you can't see is not fully understood and often ignored. I believe the bridge that needs to be built, strong and supportive, is the bridge between how to farm using the whole systems approach and a new language. How do farmers and graziers transform their farming systems? Understand that diversity is the key. Diversity is the driver to a whole systems approach. The underlying principle is to keep water on your farm and, better still, sink it deep into the subsurface levels where it replenishes the water table level so that you will have a legacy to hand down to the next generation. If you have to tap into that groundwater, understand this: it needs replacing. I don't have a problem with mining per se. I have a problem when the pollution it takes to mine is not managed appropriately and when the mining is not replaced with regeneration. Farming on the surface is a form of mining and it relies on the old language. Multi-species farming sheds that surface layer of understanding. It builds resilience, carbon sponge, soil aggregates, microbes and exudates. It allows air spaces in the soil to infiltrate rainwater. The carbon sponge holds water deep in the soil and can continue to be built year after year. The way the soil absorbs moisture dictates your water table level, even in the harshest of temperatures. Everything thrives. There is abundance and prosperity. You and your family are wealthy, your landscape is fully functioning, and as a nation we are strong. Our land reflects us. Leaving the surface layer farming in the survival box, step up and step into the farming with diversity box. Multi-species farming is not just cover cropping, it is the key to diversity, and diversity is the key to building soil. This way of farming exists for a reason: to ensure we leave a thriving legacy for future generations. By tapping into a new language today, we give ourselves a chance tomorrow. I had actually completely forgotten I'd written this, and I stumbled narrating it in places because talking about my sentence structure and my English. If I was to read that again, I will be definitely redoing a couple of the paragraphs. Because that's the way you know if your English is good enough, is you actually read it aloud. And there was one sentence where it was just, there was no full stops, it was just comma, 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 comma all the way through. And I'm going, when do I stop and how do I portray my voice? Wow, okay. That includes erosion, even though I don't talk about erosion. At the very beginning it says, it only takes one photo, doesn't it? And it's a picture of erosion where we're literally just farming the surface. And it doesn't matter whether it's wind, rain, sun, whatever, it's just open for erosion and leaving and dying. Yeah. What else can I say about that? The language really does. I wanted to hit home the language. It's really important that when you're changing, when I'm coaching, if I say something and I'm watching the expression on the person, and the expression either doesn't change or it looks quizzical, you know that they're not understanding what you're saying. And that's okay, because a good coach will then change the language and will either use a different word or use a different word and put it into a different perspective or a different scenario, or actually show what they're talking about, because everybody learns differently. So yeah, there's a few words that people in the regenerative circles use that are the old ones, and the customer and consumer. Because when you're talking about consumer, you're talking about extraction. When you're talking about customer, you're talking about recycling. And yeah, we have really started to use consumer in its correct form, even with electric cars, for example. You are a consumer, because that electric car is full of plastic and full of metals that they actually can be recycled, but I'm not sure in some of these electric cars if the batteries can be recycled. I don't think they can. I think it's the same with all of the wind energy and the solar panels and things. There's not very much that can be recycled, so it's just consumer. It's just extraction. It's a one-way linear path. And yeah, the beautiful thing about multi-species farming is it's cyclical, and you're farming but you're bringing in nature, because Mother Nature works in diversity. That's all she knows, because when you've got different roots, each plant does a different thing. And I've got a pink grapefruit tree, for example, growing with a silky oak, like literally that far away. Their trunks are that far away. And I've got the orange tree is growing, and another one is self-seeded. I'm not too sure what this plant is. It could be a tulip wood or something. But the tree is literally, again, right next to the orange tree. And it hasn't affected, in fact, it probably has affected the fruit, the orange and the pink grapefruit, to make it better. Because if they didn't like each other, they wouldn't grow next to each other. So who is it for me to chop down the wild trees that have self-seeded, because my other trees, my fruit trees, are doing a good job. Even better job, I'd say. And they chose. Everything's got a natural way, natural selection and self-organising systems. And there are times when, for example, there are vines trailing all over the place. The job of a vine is to bring down a tree when it gets too heavy, because the tree needs to decompose. It needs to fall over. There needs to be a tree falling over all the time so it can put back into the ground. And I believe that vines are here for that reason. And I've got vines. Obviously, if you want a tree that lasts a long time, excuse me, then you cut down the vine. If you want a tree to last a long time, then you cut down the vine. But in nature, time for the tree to fall over. Okay, hope you enjoyed that story, Belonging to Earth.